To answer a question like this effectively, we need to answer it from the perspective of a case study. Even though we are on corporate strategic management and ethics is another topic that actually relates with corporate governance also. So approaching it from the perspective of a case study is important to explore. Having said that, this is a topic that the World Economic Forum in 2020 dealt with, and it is very important that we understand it as students of accountancy. It is very important because it can easily come out in our case study, especially those of us that are studying CSME. Having laid that foundation, it is important for me too to quote SDAICA in that World Economic Forum that was discussed, and he said no one will remain successful in this world that is falling apart. So we want to talk about shareholders capitalism and stakeholders capitalism. Basically, Sibasma said it all. No one will be able to remain successful consistently in this world that is falling apart. So when we are talking about this capitalism of a thing is an ideology that is in between the deontological and teleological ideology. Of course, we are not in philosophical class, but you know that deontological and teleological, they are part of the economic philosophy and accountancy philosophy. So when we are talking about the ethics of duty, basically we favor that of shareholders capitalism because it is the duty of the directors basically to maximize wealth for the owners. And at the same time, when we are talking about teleological, which is consequential theory, we'll be talking about the effect of the presence and existence of our organization, the corporate citizen in a particular jurisdiction or in a particular country. And we will be taking our stake by the side of the stakeholders capitalism. What are we really talking about? Is the world really want to end? No, but our world is actually changing rapidly, and as we practice, we must revolve because we just suddenly wake up into industrial era, into high A, artificial intelligence, and the world has even moved on to the fifth industrial revolution. We are now talking about not only making money as organization and capitalist, but how we make our money. Now we are talking about the reinvention. We are talking about reskill. We are talking about restructuring and repositioning our organization. We are talking about value-based decision for the board of directors. This is what we are talking about when we are talking about shareholders capitalism now and or versus stakeholders capitalism. Well, the people of the consequential or teleological mindset is like we just have to make our money and make that product. When the deontological rather are saying that, the teleological is saying what is the consequence of that factory being located in that particular area and environment, and what is the impact. So we see that these two world views, they hold different perspectives and they are all important. Now the two of them must come together, and in fact they are actually coming together rapidly in this our revolving and ever-changing world. So we are going to quickly look at shareholders capitalism versus stakeholders capitalism. On the first divide of the shareholders capitalism, it's all about to conduct the business in accordance with the shareholders' desire, which generally will be to make much money as possible while conforming, of course, to basic rules in the society. Don't forget basic rules in the society. Both those embodied the law and those embodied the ethical custom. Basically, that is shareholders capitalism is all about making that money, but the stakeholders, of course, they are numerous. Capitalism is talking about that. Stakeholder capitalism argue that a company's ethical obligation go beyond those stated in our SOP, and that trustworthiness is important, and responsibility, sense of responsibility, care, and citizenship, both on the corporate level and on the individual level of the members of the board, of the staff membership, and the like. Equally, the stakeholders capitalism wants to ensure that there is sensitivity to the consequence of our action, of that service, of that production being located around that environment. Also, sensitivity to rationally deduce laws that hold for all people. Now we need to put all people into consideration, not our shareholders alone. The capitalists equally argued, especially on the side and divide of the stakeholders, that the protection of other people's rights is important. We need to have a sense of justice and fairness. You see that we actually live in two different worlds, but we need to match it together. We're actually going somewhere. So on the part of the deontological, on the part of the shareholders capitalists, a company needs to conform to basic ethical custom, no doubt about that, which at present is to be aware of stakeholders' view. That's so. But that of the stakeholders is a sensitivity to stakeholders' view and a sensitivity to specific situation that requires companies' attention. And of course, what metrics are we going to use for the situations around business organizations that they can take on? That is a question that we need to answer and also critique, especially if we are writing for an exam. Also, a company is a legal and regulatory, has a regulatory duty to follow relevant laws and regulations. There's no doubt about that. But the stakeholders capitalists argue that it simply means relevant laws and regulations must be understood, and also why a company has a duty to perform. So the board needs to manage this and understand that they have a responsibility to be law abiding and take on duty for their responsibility because of the cause and effects of their business that they are carrying on. On the side of the deontology, or that favors wealth maximization, a company is an economic or has an economic responsibility to generate wealth to the shareholder or for the shareholders. No doubt about that, but immediately the teleological, those especially on the side of the consequence of our action, they are saying that what are the consequences of generating such wealth, and we need to appraise the ethical values of the organization. So when we're talking about these two, shareholders capitalism and the stakeholders capitalism, we are actually talking about value-based decision that organizations are actually making. Let me end it by this question, put forward question, which is that really, is shareholders capitalism dead or dying? To me, I would say no, because an organization is not a charity. right? But at the same time, stakeholders capitalism needs to actually be followed through, especially in the developed countries. They are actually monitoring this aspect. Why? Underdeveloped countries are coming up, and whether we are in the developed or underdeveloped countries, it is important, especially on the part of us students, to ensure that we are able to argue and iron out and critique a question like shareholders capitalism versus stakeholders capitalism. If there is anything to take home from this video, is that of the word of Sibesna in that World Economic Forum, that no one will remain successful in a world that is falling apart. If you enjoy value for this video from GJAMES Associates, and for those that are just joining us, my name is Gbenga Olatunji FCA. Why don't you click like and subscribe, and ensure you click all notifications so that when we upload, you will be able to receive alerts and that we've uploaded. An organization is to maximize wealth. Recapping now, an organization is not for charity, except it's a non-governmental for that purpose and non-profit. Stakeholder versus shareholders capitalism is a debate that has been on for over 50 years, and recently in 2020, World Economic Forum actually as a topic and it was critiqued. Till now, we are still moving forward to achieve the alignment between the worldview of the shareholders capitalism, which we can call under the deontological worldview, and the stakeholders capitalism, which is consequential and teleological worldview. Gbenga Olatunji FCA will be signing off. From GJAMES Associates, we have value to life. We have value to your businesses.